What is up, guys? It is Braden with Oahu Short-Term Rental, and today we got a good one. So I'm going to break down one of the top performing units in Waikiki. Now, Waikiki is one of the most saturated and competitive markets in the US. It's also one of the most lucrative if you do it right. And this unit, I actually know the guy who manages it, and I've talked to him about how he is able to outperform similar units, like units that are in the same building with the same floor plan, by sometimes more than double. So I'm going to break this all down for you. I'm going to show you his exact listing. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you guys a nice, easy framework that you can use to maybe evaluate your own listing, whether you manage your own property or whether you're just an Airbnb investor. You can go through this checklist so maybe you can get some of the same awesome results that he does. All right, guys. So here it is in all its glory. So I am going to just kind of click around and go through the listing like I would if I were a guest. I'm going to tell you what I like about it, what makes it so awesome. And then at the end, I'm going to kind of package all of that into a nice, easy framework that you guys can use. So when I look at this listing initially, one of the things I love is the hero photo, okay? Now, if you spent any kind of time researching Airbnb or trying to figure out how to optimize an Airbnb listing, you know that this is like 80%, maybe not 80%, but it's a big chunk of what sells your listing. And he crushed it with this. And the reason that I say this is he highlights multiple features that matter to guests in one picture. Now, a lot of units will just focus on one thing, right? If they have an awesome view, they'll take a picture of the view. If they have a really nice remodel, they'll take a picture of the remodel. If they have like a nice aesthetic nook that makes for a good shot, they'll focus on that. I like how he hits on pretty much all of that, right? From this picture, I actually know a lot about the unit. I know that it is furnished tastefully, that there is a coherent theme. It's not going to be one of those Airbnbs that's just like stuffed full of mismatched stuff off of Facebook Marketplace. There's an idea, an element of design here. I know that it looks remodeled, right? Like this flooring is better than it. Like if I'm scrolling through, I'm going to see that some of the units in this area, in this building even, are kind of dated. So I can kind of see with a reasonable degree of certainty that this is, kind of recently redone. But I also get this awesome little sneak peek view of Diamond Head and the ocean. And I think that's really cool because it sells me three things in one picture, and this is the picture that most people see, right? So that gets him clicks, right? Gets him clicked on a lot. Now, with the rest of his photos, I love how he takes pictures of his amenities because there are a lot of guests that don't look at the listing description. I don't read long listing descriptions when I travel. And so there's a lot of things that I just get there and I'm like, like if it wasn't in the pictures, I'm like, it kind of turns into a pleasant surprise, which is great for me as I travel and I can enjoy that pleasant surprise as a guest. But if you're trying to sell your listing and from an owner's perspective where you're competing with others, you want to be able to tell your guests like, hey, I provide these things. These are reasons why you should book with me. So I love that he has pictures of like his little Bluetooth speaker and his cocktail set and his appliances, his Ninja blender, his Stag kettle, right? Like these are all awesome things that I can see as a guest, and they make a difference if I'm choosing between 2 or 3 units, right? And I say, well, this one has nice appliances. This one has a nice golden cocktail set. It has a Stag kettle. If the guest is a coffee nerd like me, I'm like, that's pretty cool. So he highlights that. That's another thing that I love about his listing. I also love some of these extra photos. So I'll go back up. The floor plan is awesome because I've stayed in so many Airbnbs that I just don't know what they're going to look like before I get there. And if I am a conscientious guest, which a lot of people are when they're taking a big trip, like a trip to Hawaii, right? This is not something that they do super often, and they want to make sure their stay is just right. They have the right amount of space for the number of people they're bringing, and so the ability to see the floor plan is huge for that kind of guest. I also love kind of on that same thread this picture, right? So the guests can see where they're going to be. They can see high floor, view of the ocean, walking distance to the beach, walking distance to the strip on Waikiki so they can do all their shopping. They know where they're going to be. And for the guest who hasn't traveled here before, pictures like this are super, super, super helpful, right? And it's the difference between, I'll add, the difference between booking even a unit in the same building. A lot of guests don't do their research, right? So like if I have a unit in this building that's competing with this unit and I don't have this picture, the guest might not register that it's the same building or that it's the same location or that it is the same one block to the beach. They might think that that other unit, even though it's in the same building, is a block or two or three or more further than this unit because they can see it, right? Now, good pictures of the amenities. Yeah, just can't say enough good about the photos. The last thing I'll say is that these are professionally done, and as a guest, that gives me confidence because if I see someone taking really close or paying really close attention to detail on their pictures, it makes me think that, hey, this is going to be a high-end experience. And when there's so much variability between hosts and units and just everything about the Airbnb experience, depending on where you stay, little things like that make a difference. Okay. Now, going down to reviews, he's got 103 reviews, 4.98 stars. Awesome review rate. All fives, couple fours. I mean, and I've talked to this guy. He pays incredible amounts of attention to detail, and he creates a really awesome experience, right? Like the experience in his unit is like the pictures, and that rocks. And he communicates with his guests well. He does a great job maintaining those reviews. Something I've said in other videos people don't understand about Airbnbs is it's not like Michelin restaurants, right? Like 4 stars is not good. 4 stars is actually terrible. So 4.98 is really good. 4.8 to 4.9 is kind of the baseline for a good unit. I would say 4.98 is definitely above average, and that's why he's able to command the prices that he does, and he's ranked top 10 in 1-bedroom suites on the island. But you can just see from that he pays incredible attention to detail, communicates with his guests well, and does a really good job creating an experience for them. Now, last thing I'll talk about. So the copy here. He does a really, really good job with his listing description. And probably my favorite thing about it is that he hits this key highlights, because as you scroll down, like, he has a lot of awesome copy in here. He describes the space really well. He sells it really well. But he's also aware that every time, like every scroll, every break in the paragraph, you lose a reader, right? Like people will start here and they'll go, 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph, 3 paragraph, get down to key highlights, and then they start to drop off, right? Like some people read this and it's good to have to get those people. But this is prime real estate as far as what most people are going to read. So he uses that for his most important things. He sells the amenities. He sells the high level of service. He sells that it is ranked top 10 in 1-bedroom suites in Waikiki. He sells the view. He sells the location. He sells the extra stuff that he throws in there in terms of beach gear. And all of these things are things that he can do to separate himself from his competition so he's not like everyone else. Now, the result of all this is that he can charge higher prices. So this month, or this week, or these days in September, he's charging $419 a night. In October, we can click around and see his price is $574. Get into November, $531, right? So he's charging, and for context, there are units in this building that charge $180 flat, right? So he is over double a lot of these units. And the reason he can do that is because, one, he provides a really good experience. He gets great reviews. He's, obviously done a great job with the amenities and the photography in his unit, so he can sell that. But he also tests his pricing, and he pushes it. And he says, okay, if we get up into the 90% occupancy range, we're still getting good reviews, we're still booking out at a high rate, it's time to bump those prices a little bit. And he's very, very conscious and goes in manually, and he bumps those prices and he tests. And if it gets too high and we start to see a drop in occupancy, then he can always bring those down. And because of his high review count and the way his listing is crafted, he can always bring his price down and he can sell it. Okay, so this is all great, and it was a quick and dirty overview of a really, really highly executed unit. But how can you take this and apply this to yours? So the framework that I promised that I would give you is 3 parts, okay? And those 3 parts are as follows. It is marketing, product, and pricing. Okay, and I'm going to just briefly touch on those as it relates to this unit and how you can apply it to yours. So he obviously does great marketing. That is the copy, the description, the photos. He puts effort into selling his unit because we are selling a product. This isn't real estate. This is a business. So we do have to sell our unit. Okay. So he does excellent marketing. And the way that you can do excellent marketing is hire a professional photographer. Take pictures of the amenities that your guests are going to want. Write a listing description that focuses on, in the first little bit, the part that people are actually going to read, that focuses on the amenities and the things that are actually special about your unit, the things that guests actually want. With your product, right? Don't just market a great product. You have to make a great product. And that's where we get into reviews. His unit looks better than the pictures, right? When you show up, it's like going on a date with someone where their pictures on their dating app profile are way better than what they look like in person, kind of for an analogy there. If you show up to a unit that has great pictures, but it's crappy when you show up, you're not going to get those kind of reviews. So he puts effort into creating an actual experience. And that's with the unit, with the guest communication, and some other things that I can break down in detail in a longer video. But he actually creates a great guest experience and takes good care of his guests, right? And that, by creating a great product, leads to the ability to price well, right? And to jack his rates up when other units in the same building, units that honestly look similar to this one, are charging half of what he's charging. He pushes his prices and he tests out higher prices, and that allows him to capture 50% more revenue on a monthly basis, and earn double what his competition is because he continuously tests that. Now, if you only have 2 out of these 3 things, it doesn't work as well, right? I know, like I mentioned, there are units that market themselves very well, that create a great experience, that don't test out their pricing, and so they don't make any extra money, right? And that's great that they provide their guests with a good experience, but they don't make any extra money, and this is what we're in the business to try and make money, right? I know people who push their prices and market really well, but their unit itself and their guest communication is terrible, and so they get bad reviews and they get buried way down in the Airbnb search algorithm, and so it hamstrings them as far as their revenue goes. And then you guys kind of get the picture, right? If you're missing any part of this puzzle, then your ultimate returns are going to suffer. So pricing, marketing, product, make sure that you get those 3. And if you're just an investor, make sure that you get a property manager who knows what they're talking about, and ask them before you hire a property manager, what do you do about pricing? How do you market my property? And how do you create a great guest experience so that they get 5-star reviews every time? So that's it for today, guys. I went a little bit over the 10 minutes that I promised, but I hope that you got something out of it. As always, if you have any questions, leave them down for me in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.